What's going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of our What If series, where we create Marvel characters in NHL 23 and go through a full career simulation for them. I had put up a poll, and you guys voted, and the character we're doing next is none other than Peter Parker, Spider-Man himself. So let's do a real quick intro here. Just go over sort of his details, his attributes. I have him as a two-way forward, primary position as center, and secondary position right wing. I chose two-way forward just because he can kind of do it all. He can get on the offensive, or he can make a lot of really nice defensive, team-oriented plays. So I felt that kind of, fit him pretty well. As for his actual, physical attributes, 5'10", 177 pounds. He's actually 5'10" in the comics. I think he's like 170 or something in the comics. So chose to make him just a little heavier. Birth year is set to 2005, so he's going to be in the Connor Bedard draft, but it's not really going to affect him all that much. Mostly because we have him set to, in the attributes here, a medium franchise, whereas Connor Bedard is a high franchise. So the chances of him getting selected number 1 overall over Bedard are pretty low here. But just take a quick look at his attributes here. Obviously set him pretty high speed, puck control, strength, and everything is set pretty high coming out right away. I think pretty fair for him. He's kind of like the all-around guy, right? He's super powerful in the comics. But take a look at his appearance here. I think this is a pretty close one. He kind of looks like if you mixed together Tom Holland's Peter and Insomniac's Peter. If you just mushed them together, that's kind of what they would look like. But I think it's pretty close, honestly. It's not really that bad. The more you look at him, the more he actually does resemble Tom Holland a little bit. Especially zoomed out. He really does look like Tom Holland in a hockey helmet there. As for his abilities, we just loaded him up. Pretty cool here. So I gave him the X Factor ability of Elite Edges, lean into that agility aspect that he has. Then we have things like Magnetic, Make It Snappy, Quick Pick, Wheels, and Tape to Tape. So kind of, all over the place in terms of abilities, because he's, obviously we know Spider-Man's really versatile in what he can do. So these are all ones that I felt were pretty accurate to what he's capable of, and I think should make him a really fantastic player in this game. So as you can see there, he is a 75 overall so far, headed out into the draft. I'm sure he'll grow a little bit in rating, and we will head out to the 2023 draft and see which team is going to end up with our boy Peter Parker. Alright, so here we are looking at the 2023 draft class. As you can see, Peter Parker is listed to go 2nd overall. Again, medium franchise potential puts him below Connor Bedard, which is kind of what we want. Didn't want to screw that up. Putting up really insane numbers, playing over there for USA Hockey there in USA Central. Looks pretty good. Kind of weird, his skating's only at a B, but 1 year ETA there. Obviously, some of those X factors will be different, but yeah, he's looking like he's really solid, slated to go 2nd overall, so let's see who gets him. And check this out, guys. In 2023, the Boston Bruins did actually end up winning the Stanley Cup. Obviously, that's kind of what people were expecting in real life this season, but unfortunately did not happen for them. They were one of the biggest chokes I've ever seen. Anyway, they win the 2023 Stanley Cup, sweeping the Wild in the finals. Alright, guys, take a look at our draft lottery results. So, in the Gold Play Cinematic Universe, the St. Louis Blues are going to be getting Connor Bedard, and the Anaheim Ducks jumping up from 8 to 2. So, looks like our boy Peter, all things considered, will be going to Anaheim. And here we are at the draft, guys. Let's sim through here. Obviously, we are expecting our boy Peter Parker to go 2nd overall. First, there he goes, Connor Bedard, 85 overall high franchise. The Ducks on the clock, and they take him. So he actually stayed 75 overall. Interesting. But medium franchise potential, put up some crazy numbers there. And yeah, stats look, again, two-way forward. Everything's pretty even there. Should develop quite nicely. And Peter Parker, you are an Anaheim Duck. All right, guys. So to start his professional career, Peter's going to be starting playing down in the AHL on the San Diego Gulls. He'll be on that first line with Sam Carrick and Benoit Olivier Groulx. See what kind of stuff he can do in the AHL. Maybe he can even work his way up to the NHL. All right, guys. So, end his first year in the AHL, Peter scored 47 points, 21 goals, 26 assists, was a minus 27. As you can see, this San Diego team, um, just like their NHL counterpart, is pretty brutal. He did go up to a 78 overall, though, so pretty good shot that he can make the NHL roster next season if he grows to maybe like an 80 over the offseason. Stats and everything are developing quite nicely for him, so we will see what happens next season for Peter. Alrighty, in 2024, the Vegas Golden Knights are your Stanley Cup champions, taking down the Philadelphia Flyers in 7 games. Alright, guys, check this out. So Peter Parker has made the jump to the NHL in his second year playing pro. He has jumped to an 82 overall in just one offseason. So that's crazy gains coming from a 75 out of the draft. Take a look at his stats here. Developing pretty nicely. Obviously, those puck skills, what we want to see. And yeah, just looks really solid. He's going to be playing up on that first line to start the season with Zegras and Terry. So should get some really nice experience for him this season. All right, and in his first season in the NHL, the Anaheim Ducks qualified for the playoffs, putting up a record of 45, 29, and 8, good for 98 points and a 9th place finish in the league. And in his rookie season, Peter Parker put up 16 goals, 33 assists, and 49 points with a minus 13 rating. So, as you can see from the rest of the ratings here, this Anaheim Ducks team definitely not very defensive oriented, but still very solid for a rookie campaign playing in 78 games. And in 2025, the Carolina Hurricanes are the Stanley Cup champions, taking down Winnipeg in 5 games. As you can see there, Peter and the Ducks fall in the first round to Colorado in 6 games. And in that first series, Peter put up 2 goals, 2 assists, and 4 points with a minus 4 rating. All right, to start year 3 of his career, year 2 in the NHL though. Peter is now up to an 87 overall. They have him playing his natural position at center. He'll be on that second line with Sprong and Lundstrom. Still medium franchise potential here, and stats are shooting up pretty fast, especially those puck skills now at 5 stars. 2 years left on his entry-level deal. Let's see if Peter Parker can have a breakout sophomore year. And for the second straight season, the Anaheim Ducks and Peter Parker will be in the playoffs, posting a record of 46, 31, and 5, good for 97 points. And wow, guys, Peter popped off this season playing in all 82 games, posting 34 goals, 58 assists, and 92 points with a plus 14 rating, up to an 89 over the course of this season. My goodness, man, he just went off. And in 2026, the Stanley Cup champions are the Vancouver Canucks, taking down the Florida Panthers in 5 games. As you can see there, they eliminated the Ducks and Peter Parker in the second round in 7 games. In these playoffs, Peter put up a point per game pace, scoring 5 goals, 9 assists, and 14 points with a minus 2 rating. And in 2026, we have Brent Burns retiring, leading the way on defensemen, and Semyon Varlamov retiring as well on the goaltending front. And to start year 4, Peter is now up to a 93 overall. He'll be up on that first line with Zegras and Caswell. Just 21 years old, medium franchise. Look at those stats. Almost everything is already 5 stars. Oh my gosh. Basically perfect puck skills. Shots really great. Good agility. Great defensive stats. And he is on his last year of his ELC. So if he puts up a big season, we'll see if the Ducks can work out a deal with him or if he chooses to go somewhere else. And yet another year, the Ducks make it into the playoffs, this time barely squeezing into that spot, putting up a record of 42, 36, and 4, good for 88 points. And while Peter Parker definitely took a step back from his crazy sophomore year, he still had a very solid season, putting up 26 goals, 44 assists, and 70 points with an even rating. And in 2027, the Stanley Cup champions are the Tampa Bay Lightning, taking down the Calgary Flames in 6 games. Once again, the Ducks make it to the second round, but they fall to the Flames in 6 games. And once again in the playoffs, Peter was a point per game, putting up 4 goals, 9 assists, and 13 points, along with a plus 6 rating. In our retired players, Patrice Bergeron leading the way with the forwards, retiring at 41 years old. As for defensemen, we have Chris Letang on the top there. And goalie-wise, Marc-Andre Fleury and Jonathan Quick on top here. And heading into year 5, Peter Parker, as you can see, is still on the Ducks. 94 overall, playing center on that first line with McTavish and Caswell. And he signed a big boy contract, 7 years, $12.3 million AAV with the Ducks. They saw what he could do and they said, let's get him locked up for 7 years. And in year 5, the Ducks make the playoffs yet again, going 45, 28, and 9, good for 99 points on the season. As for Peter, he definitely improved from last year's 70-point total, playing in all 82 games and posting 24 goals, 66 assists, and 90 points, along with a +10 rating. And let's go, guys. In year 5, Peter Parker and the Anaheim Ducks take home the Stanley Cup, beating out Boston in 6 games, and they put on quite a run there. As you can see, Avs in 6, Flames in 5, and the Kings in 5 before taking home Lord Stanley. And as you can see, Peter was absolutely a huge reason they won the Cup, putting up 11 goals, 18 assists, and 29 points with a +17 rating. And at the top of the retired players, we have Kane, Malkin, and Backstrom for the forwards. As for defense, we got Yossi and Carlson there leading the way. And for goalies, we'll have Jake Allen leading the way there. And going into year 6 of his career, Peter Parker will be on that first line again with Caswell and Zegras, now up to a 96 overall. Oh my goodness, this guy is he's just insane. Literally perfect hands, and everything else is a 5-star. Shot is almost perfect there. Sense is almost perfect. I mean, what a player he has turned into. I just saw that they signed Ovechkin, I guess. What the heck? So this Anaheim Ducks team is looking pretty good, and Peter Parker and the Ducks looking to make another run at the Stanley Cup this season. And unfortunately for Anaheim, the season after winning the Stanley Cup, they do not make the playoffs, going 39, 36, and 7 for 85 points on the season. However, in year 6, Peter Parker was still over point per game, playing in 72 games and scoring 30 goals, 48 assists, and 78 points, along with an even rating on the season. And our retired players Ovechkin, Crosby, Stamkos, and Kopitar lead the way with our retired forwards. As for defensemen, Hedman and Carlson will be at the top there. And for goalies, Bobrovsky and Anderson at the top of the list here. And your 2029 Stanley Cup champions are the Minnesota Wild, taking down the Montreal Canadiens in 7 games. And to start year 7, Peter Parker still playing up on that first line with Caswell and McTavish, now a 96 overall, absolute insanity. Obviously, we know all his stats are at 5 stars. I mean, this dude, he's just insane, but did we honestly expect anything less from Spider-Man himself? So, after 1 year removed from the playoffs, Peter Parker and the Ducks are going to look to get back into the Stanley Cup running. Alrighty, in year 7, the Anaheim Ducks had a massive bounce-back season, going 49, 28, and 5, good for 103 points on the year. And our boy Peter Parker absolutely went off this season, scoring 62 goals, 47 assists, and 109 points, along with a +23 rating. Absolutely insane, logging over 22 minutes of ice per night. What a player. All right, in 2030, the Stanley Cup champions are the New Jersey Devils, taking down the Seattle Kraken in 7 games. As you can see, Peter Parker and the Ducks make it into the second round until they lose to Seattle in 5 games. As for Peter, though, he played pretty well in the 2 rounds, scoring 5 goals, 4 assists, and 9 points with a +2 rating. And in 2030, Peter Parker will be taking home the Maurice Richard Trophy as he scored 62 goals and led the league. As for retired players, we have Marchand, O'Reilly, and Scheifele leading the way there with a bunch of other big names. Defensemen here will have Hamilton at the top here, and for goalies, we'll have Leonard and Campbell leading the way there. And headed into year 8 of his career, Peter Parker yet again on that first line, now with Lundestrom as his right winger, still playing with Clark Caswell though, 96 overall, 25 years of age. All the stats are still 5 stars. Shots still nearing perfect. I mean, really, what an amazing player. 4 years left on that massive deal. I'm sure the Ducks are very happy with that. So, headed into the new year here, Peter Parker and the Ducks are looking to see if they can continue their success. And in year 8, Peter Parker and the Anaheim Ducks will make the playoffs with a record of 46, 28, and 8, good for 100 points even on the year. And on the season, Parker did regress just a little bit, going 39 goals, 36 assists, and 75 points with an even rating, so definitely a step back from his monster year last season, but still a very solid year for him nonetheless. And going back to back with Stanley Cup championships are the New Jersey Devils, taking down the St. Louis Blues in 7 games. As you can see, Parker and the Ducks made it all the way to the conference finals before, unfortunately, being swept by St. Louis. And in 18 playoff games this season, Peter put up 4 goals, 9 assists, and 13 points with a -5 rating. And at the top of the retirement class, we'll have Landeskog, Evander Kane, and Jonathan Marchessault for the forwards. As far as defensemen goes, we'll have Krug and Klingberg along with Morrissey leading the way there. And for the goalies, we'll have Forsberg and Grubauer at the top of the list here. All right, guys, so headed into year 9 of Peter Parker's career. Still playing up on that first line for the Ducks with Forsberg and Caswell Zegras there on that second line. Just take a quick look at how this Ducks team is looking. Very nice, top 3, otherwise not great. As for their goalies, they'll have 82 overall Gaudreau in net. So hopefully, Peter and the Ducks can make it back into the playoffs, and we'll sim through and see how Peter's 9th season in the league goes. All right, so the Ducks did make the playoffs, finishing 13th in the entire league, posting a record of 45, 32, and 5. And in his 9th season, Peter posted 32 goals, 47 assists, and 79 points with a +15 rating. Yet another solid season from Peter. And in the 2032 playoffs, as you can see here, Peter put up 1 goal, 7 assists, and 8 points in 10 playoff games with a -4 rating. As for the 2032 playoff picture, Peter and the Ducks were eliminated in the second round by the eventual Stanley Cup champions, the Seattle Kraken, as they took down the New Jersey Devils in 6 games for the Stanley Cup. In a big retirement class, Leon Draisaitl there gets his cup with Seattle and then bounces Kucherov, Forsberg, and Point, also topping the charts as far as the forwards go. As for defensemen, we'll have Riley, Taves, and Jones at the top there. For goalies, we'll have Kemper, Jari, and Murray, and John Gibson leading the way. And to start year 10 of his career, Peter is playing on that top line with Zegras and Caswell. Should be a nasty first line. They also got Nathan MacKinnon at the ripe age of 37 on their team, so he should help out there. He is up to an exact franchise potential now, 95 overall, and pretty much perfect stats except for 4 stars on physical. Hands there, absolutely disgusting, maxed out there. 2 years left on his big boy contract, so we'll see if Peter puts in the work these final 2 years. Maybe looking to get another extension with the Ducks, but into his 10th season in the league we go. All right, so in his 10th season, Peter and the Ducks not only made the playoffs, but they also take home the President's Trophy, finishing first in the league, tied in points there with the Avalanche actually, but they posted a very impressive record of 51, 26, and 5. As for Peter, he put up a nasty year, posting 99 points with 44 goals, 55 assists, and a +31 rating. As for Peter and the Ducks, he will put up 7 goals, 10 assists, and 17 points in 18 playoff games. He was injured there for a couple of them, along with a +5 rating. And the 2033 Stanley Cup champions are the Nashville Predators. As you can see there, Peter and the Ducks made it all the way to the Western Conference Final before losing in 6 games to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Nashville Predators. And yet another huge retirement class here in 2033. We'll have McKinnon, Barkov, Gaudreau, Connor, and Eichel leading the way along with Teravainen and Fiala there on the forward front. And then we'll have Theodore, Ekblad, and Dunn on top there for the defensemen. As for goalies, we'll have big names here, Hellebuck, Saros, and Ullmark retiring in 2033. And to start year 11 of his career, Peter Parker will still be playing on that first line with Dvorsky and Caswell, up to a 96 overall now. Just absolute stud in this league, literally 5 stars on all his stats. Also, his final year of that huge contract he signed with the Ducks way back when. He's only 28, so he's got, a decent amount of good hockey left in him. So we'll see if the Ducks decide to extend him or if he goes somewhere else. But into year 11 of his career we go. And in 2034, Peter Parker and the Ducks finished 5th in the league with a record of 49, 28, and 5, good for 103 points on the season. And in his 11th season, Peter Parker put up 86 points in 75 games, so was injured for 7 games there, with 43 goals and 43 assists, along with a plus 13 rating. And in the playoffs, Peter put up 16 goals and 17 assists, good for 33 points and a plus 13 rating, I should say. As you can see, the Anaheim Ducks played 24 games in these playoffs, which means Peter Parker has collected his second Stanley Cup ring of his career as they take down the Columbus Blue Jackets in 6 games to win the 2034 Stanley Cup. In on their Stanley Cup run, Peter Parker would also collect his first Conn Smythe Trophy Award of his career. So once again, what a phenomenal run by Peter and the Ducks. I also don't know why I never did this, but here's a look at Peter in the Anaheim Ducks uniform. I'm actually really surprised he doesn't have, at least an assistant captain letter on his jersey yet. I mean, he was, instrumental in their Stanley Cup run this season. He's literally been their franchise player. As you can see, rocking the number 10 there. He looks real sharp in that uniform. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't do that earlier. But yeah, he looks good. And this was also his final year of his contract. So leading them to a Stanley Cup win and a Conn Smythe award. He's going to be looking to get that bag. So we'll see what happens with our boy Peter as we head into the offseason and free agency. And take a quick look at our retired class here. We'll have Ehlers, Nylander, and Barzal leading the way for the forwards. On the defensemen, we'll have DeAngelo, Gostisbehere, and Girard at the top there. And for goalies, we will have big names here: Shesterkin, Georgiev, and Demko leading the way. And guys, how cool is this? Peter Parker is heading home as he signed a big boy contract with the New York Rangers. He signed for 7 years at $15.9 million per year. So he got that huge bag after, he led his Anaheim Ducks to their second Stanley Cup. I mean, I just love this for him. I think that just works out so perfectly. Signs a big contract. He'll be playing up there with Evangelista and Lafreniere. This New York team looks pretty good. Cousins, Dubois, and McGrory on the second line is kind of nasty. As for their defense, they'll have Zellweger and Adam Fox. And in net, they don't have Shesterkin, but they do have an 80 overall Devin Levi. So this team looks pretty good. Looks like Parker was very attracted to their lineup, and he is headed back to the Big Apple. We love to see it, and headed into his 12th year in the league. We'll see how he does with his new team. And in 2035, Peter and the New York Rangers will finish 5th in the entire league with a record of 48, 25, and 9, good for 105 points. And in his first year with the Rangers, Peter put up a point per game, finishing with 79 points in 79 games played. He put up 44 goals, 35 assists with a +5 rating, so not too shabby. His first season with the Rangers, so far success, as they will be going into the playoffs. And guys, just take a look at Peter in the New York Rangers uniform. He looks so sharp, and obviously you get those Spider-Man colors of the blue, the red, and the white. So he's looking real solid in this uniform, and we love to see it. And in the playoffs, Peter put up 5 points in 7 playoff games, 2 goals, and 3 assists with a -3 rating, as the New York Rangers fell in 7 games to the New York Islanders there. So nice New York matchup. But in 2035, the Vancouver Canucks take home the Stanley Cup championship, I should say. I can't talk. And they take down the Red Wings in 6 games. So a great first season for Peter, and the Rangers unfortunately lose out in the first round of the 2035 playoffs. And in 2035, we have a massive retirement here. McDavid, Matthews, and Pasternak all retiring together, along with Kachuk, Pettersson, and Tage Thompson. Clayton Keller there also retires, so huge retirement class. As for the defensemen, we'll have Renski, McAvoy, and Shabbat leading the way. And for goalies, we'll have Vanacek, Sorokin, and Samsonov on top there. And going into year 13 now, 30 years old, Peter still playing up on that first line with Lafreniere and Evangelista. Still exact franchise potential at 95 overall. Perfect stats, except for skating, went down to 4.5 stars. Kind of weird there. But overall, yeah. He's looking to have another solid year with the Rangers. Because another thing I also realized about the Rangers, they actually signed Cale Makar, still a 94 overall at 36 years old, 2 years, $13.4 million. Absolutely insane. So they have Makar and Fox on their defensive core here. That's absolutely nuts. So yeah, Peter and the Rangers, along with Cale Makar, looking to have a big season here. All right, in 2036, Peter and the New York Rangers will finish 14th overall in the league as they put up a record of 43, 34, and 5. Good for 91 points, and they do make it into the playoffs. As for Peter, he had a massive year for the Rangers, putting up 42 goals, 57 assists for 99 points on the year, along with a +4 rating. And in the playoffs, Peter put up 3 goals, 2 assists, and 5 points with a -3 rating. As you can see, Peter and the Rangers only played 4 games because they got swept in the first round by the Islanders yet again. However, in 2036, the Stanley Cup champions are the Winnipeg Jets as they sweep the Washington Capitals in the Stanley Cup final. And we have some more big names here: Meyer, Kaprizov, and Makar, Larkin, Quinn Hughes, Natras, Batherson. The list goes on and on. Sergachev, oh my goodness, so many names here retiring. Absolutely massive retirement class. As for goalies, wow, Vasilevsky at 41 years old finally retires, and Stuart Skinner also there retiring. And headed into his 14th season, Peter now a 96 overall, back up from a 95 from last season. 31 years old, 5 years left on his big boy contract. He'll be playing up on that first line still with Lafreniere and a new line mate, Johnny Girardi. So hopefully him and this Rangers team looking to get out of the first round of the playoffs, but that defense looks pretty rough and goaltending looks okay at best. So looks like Peter's going to have to put this team on his back a little bit this season. Unfortunately, in his 14th season, Peter Parker and the Rangers do not make the playoffs as they put up a record of 40, 37, and 5 for 85 points on the year. And despite the poor showing from his team this season, Peter still put up a point per game pace, putting up 34 goals, 48 assists, and 82 points with a -18 rating. So this team was absolutely held back by their poor defensive core. Losing Fox and Makar in one season was insane for them, but Peter there really did put the team on his back. 82 points in 82 games played. And in 2037, the Stanley Cup champions are the Colorado Avalanche as they take down the Washington Capitals in 5 games. In another huge retirement class here, Rantanen, Robertson, and Reinhart leading the way on the forward front. As for defensemen, we'll have Fox, Heiskanen, and Chychrun retiring along with Moritz Seider. As for goalies, we'll have Kochetkov, Carter Hart, and Jake Ottinger leading the way on the goaltending front. Headed into his 15th season at the age of 32, Peter Parker still playing on that first line for the Rangers at a 95 overall. As you can see, everything here is still 5 stars aside from skating, which is 4.5 stars. He'll be playing on that first line with Peverly and Girardi. As for Peter and the New York Rangers, they do have a bounce-back season, making it into the playoffs with 96 points and a record of 47, 33, and 2. As for Peter, he put up a massive year, putting up 99 points on the year in only 76 games played. He had 37 goals and 62 assists, along with a +27 rating. So huge year for him, and on to the playoffs we go. As for Peter and the Rangers, he put up 4 goals, 9 assists, and 13 points in 13 playoff games, along with a -8 rating. And in 2038, Peter and the Rangers were knocked out in the second round in 6 games by the Boston Bruins. However, the 2038 Stanley Cup champions will be the Seattle Kraken as they take down the Detroit Red Wings in 7 games. And another huge retirement class here. As for the forwards, we'll have Marner, Aho, and Svechnikov leading the way. As for defensemen, they're Drysdale, Joseph, and Boquist at the top of the list there. And for goalies, we'll have Spencer Knight and UPL or 6K leading the way with the retired goalies. And going into his 16th season, Peter Parker still up on that first line with the Rangers, playing with Peverly and Girardi here. Back up to a 96 overall, everything back up to 5 stars. So they had a good season last year. Peter had a phenomenal year last year, so looking to carry that momentum into the new season. And once again, Peter and the Rangers make it into the playoffs, just squeaking in there, finishing 16th overall in the league with a record of 41, 35, and 6 for 88 points on the year. As for Peter, he had a career year, putting up 42 goals and 68 assists for 110 points and a +18 rating. That's actually his highest point in a single season, just one more than his 29-30 season with Anaheim, but 110 points, a new career high for him. However, all that hard work by Peter in the regular season went absolutely to waste in the playoffs as he and the Rangers get eliminated by Columbus in the first round in 6 games. Ottawa there, though, goes on to win the 2039 Stanley Cup as they take down Colorado in 7 games. And in those 6 playoff games, Peter put up 1 goal and 3 assists for 4 points, along with a -2 rating. And in his career year, Peter Parker captured his first Art Ross Trophy Award of his career as he put up 110 points this season and led the league overall. Big accomplishment for him. In some more retirements here, Stützle, Suzuki, Jack Quinn, and Pierre-Luc Dubois leading the way for the forwards with retirements. For defensemen, we'll have Owen Power, Brant Clark, and Simon Edvinsson leading the way. As for goalies, we'll have Swayman, Levi, and Hofer leading the way for goalies. And headed into year 17, Peter Parker, 34 years old now, still up on that first line with Peverly and Girardi here. Still a 96 overall, everything still 5 stars, and 2 years left on that massive deal he signed with the Rangers. So, I would say he's still got a couple more really good years before he may start to regress in terms of his stats. So, year 17, we'll see what happens. And in 2040, Peter Parker and the Rangers finish 11th overall in the league, putting up a record of 45, 28, and 9, good for 99 points on the season. And Peter will have back-to-back 100-plus point seasons as he put up 42 goals, 62 assists, and 104 points this year, along with an absolutely nutty +59 rating. What the heck? Dude has been on a heater lately. And unfortunately, Peter and the Rangers make it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2040, but they lose in 7 games to the San Jose Sharks. Despite losing in the Stanley Cup Finals, Peter led the team with 39 points, consisting of 11 goals and 28 assists, along with a +19 rating. What's absolutely insane to me is that in the playoffs, as you can see here, he actually led all scoring, which is insane. Like, if they win the Stanley Cup, he wins his second Conn Smythe, but unfortunately that's not going to happen, and I absolutely hate that. And retiring this season, we'll have Laine, Perfetti, and Dak leading the way for the forwards. As for defensemen, we'll have Luke Hughes, Mintyukov, and Bowen Byram. As for the goaltending, we will have Benjamin Gaudreau and Hugo Allenfeld retiring. And in his 18th season in the league, Peter Parker, now 35 years old, at a 95 overall. He'll be playing up on a first line with Dean Leach and Luke Misa. As you can see here, everything 5 stars except for skating, now 4.5 stars. Final year of that massive contract he signed with the Rangers. So, 35 years old, he's getting up there. We'll see what ends up happening with him. And guys, finally in his 18th season, Peter finally has a letter on his jersey, getting the assistant captain for the Rangers. Naturally, it's in the final year of his contract, so he might not even be staying, but still, it's nice to see him with that A on his sweater. And unfortunately, this season, the New York Rangers do not make the playoffs. They put up a record of 40, 34, and 8 for 88 points on the season, finishing 19th overall in the league. And Peter Parker had a bit of a down year, putting up 28 goals and 49 assists for 77 points. Still almost point per game, along with a minus 11 rating. But, for his standards, he's been popping off the last several seasons. So, not the best year for him, but still quite solid. And we'll see if he chooses to re-sign with New York or if he goes elsewhere, now 35 years old. And in 2041, the Stanley Cup champions are the Vegas Golden Knights, as they take down the Boston Bruins in 6 games. And with the retiring class, we'll have Zegras, Lafreniere, and Carlson leading the way on the forwards. Also there, Sauvageau, Byfield, and Johnston. As for the defensemen, we'll have Sanderson, Matejchuk, and Jiricek leading the way. And for goalies, we'll have Yaroslav Askarov at the top of the list there. All right, headed into his 19th season, 36 years old. As you can see, Peter Parker now on the San Jose Sharks, down to a 93 overall and exact elite potential. So he is starting to regress now. As you can see, skating down to 4 stars, physical down to 4.5 stars. He signed a 1-year deal with San Jose worth $13.5 million. So, I would say he's probably going to retire this year or next year perhaps, but looks to be on a pretty solid San Jose team. So he's taken his talents back out west, and we'll see how Peter's 19th season goes for him. And Peter Parker and the San Jose Sharks finished 3rd overall in the league, putting up a nice record of 51, 29, and 2, good for 104 points on the year. In playing on the second line, Peter put up 76 points in 82 games, 27 goals, and 49 assists, along with a minus 9 rating. So again, he is starting to regress, but still putting up pretty impressive numbers. And I also just wanted to show you guys what Peter looks like in the San Jose uniform. Looks pretty cool. He also does have the assistant captain, so nice to see there. And the 2042 Stanley Cup champions are the Pittsburgh Penguins, taking down the Golden Knights in 7 games. Unfortunately for Peter and the Sharks, they get knocked out by Vegas in 5 games in the second round. However, Peter actually led his team along with Pierce Howden, putting up 12 points with 3 goals and 9 assists, along with a +4 rating, so certainly his veteran presence leading the team there. And as for our retirement class, some more huge name here: Jack Hughes, Macklin Celebrini, Kent Johnson, Matty Beniers, Alex Turcotte there, and Shane Wright. As for defensemen, we'll have Korchinski, Nemec, and Zellweger retiring. And on the goalie front, we'll have Sebastian Cossa and Michael Hrabal. And headed into his 20th season in the league, now down to a 90 overall, Peter Parker has signed with the Buffalo Sabres, who'll be playing up on that first line with Plekhanov and Leach. As you can see now, exact top 6 potential, things starting to regress, skating at 3.5 stars, physical at 4 stars. He signed just a 1-year deal worth $9 million with the Sabres, taking his talents back to the Eastern Conference in Buffalo. And for the 1 year, Peter Parker will be an assistant captain for the Buffalo Sabres, and take a look at him in the Buffalo uniform. Looks pretty sharp. And unfortunately for Peter and Buffalo, they do not make the playoffs, finishing 21st overall in the league with a record of 41, 36, and 5 for 87 points on the year. However, Peter dragged this Buffalo team kicking and screaming through the season as he put up 20 goals and 60 assists for 80 points, along with a -1 rating. So absolutely the best player on this Buffalo team, even though he's 37 years old. And in 2043, the Stanley Cup champions are the Chicago Blackhawks, as they sweep the Penguins in the Stanley Cup final. And guys, check this out. Peter Parker is still not retiring. We do have some big names here: Gunther, McTavish, and Slavkovsky, along with Cooley, Connor Geeky leading the way for the forwards. As far as defensemen go, of San and Palika leading the way there, and goalies will have Emil Vinny on the top of the list there. All right, guys, headed into his 21st season. Peter Parker now bouncing out to the Colorado Avalanche, down to an 86 overall, but still on that first line. Now exact top 9, potential at the ripe age of 38. As you can see, things regressing a bit, shooting starting to go down and things like that. The Avs signed him to 1 year at 11.7 million. Buddies, what are you doing? I'll be playing on the first line here with Oleg Markov and Kale Landeskog. Maybe that's like Gabe Landeskog's son or something. We could pretend it is, but yeah, this Avalanche team looks kind of rough around the edges, so hopefully Peter's 21st year in the league goes well for him. And take a quick look at Peter in that Colorado Avalanche uniform, still rocking number 10. No letter on his jersey, however. Weird to see, but still looks pretty sharp. All right, so for Peter and the Colorado Avalanche, they make it into the playoffs, finishing 12th overall in the league, putting up a record of 45, 34, and 3, good for 93 points on the year. And Peter will put up 25 goals, 49 assists, good for 74 points in 80 games, along with a plus 24 rating. So even at the age of 38, he's still getting up there into just under point per game pace. So pretty impressive there. All right, so unfortunately, Peter and the Avs lose in the first round to the Vegas Golden Knights in 7 games, and the 2044 Stanley Cup champions will be the Florida Panthers, taking down the Flames in 5 games. And in these playoffs, in that first round 7-game series, Peter didn't do much, honestly, just putting up 2 goals for 2 points and an even rating. And wow, guys, Peter Parker still not retiring. We do have some big names, though. Lucas Raymond, Michkov, and Michael Misa all retiring this season. As for defensemen, we'll have Kiva Haraju and Emmanuel Owens leading the way. And as for goalies, we'll have Hakkarainen, who I believe these are all made-up guys at this point. And now at the age of 39, heading into his 22nd season in the league, Peter Parker has signed with the New York Islanders of all teams, so headed back out to New York, except this time on the rival team of the Rangers. Now down to an 84 overall and a bottom 6 potential. Still though, 84 overall at 39 is pretty impressive to see that. Things starting to regress here, physical now down to 2 stars. And he signed just 1 year, $7 million with the Islanders. This Islanders team looks pretty solid, not gonna lie. So defense leaves some to be desired, but pretty nice forward core. So, excuse me, hopefully his 22nd season will go his way. And here we go, Peter and the Islanders make it into the playoffs, finishing 4th overall in the league, putting up 48 wins, 28 losses, and 6 overtime losses for 102 points on the season. And part of the reason for their success was the insane depth they had on this team. Peter finished 5th in scoring on the team, but still put up just over a point per game pace, scoring 23 goals, 60 assists, and 83 points in a plus 22 rating. So very solid year from him at 39 years old, and hopefully the Islanders can get things done in the playoffs. In the 2045 Stanley Cup champions are the Nashville Predators, taking down the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games. Unfortunately for Peter and the Islanders, they were eliminated in 7 games by the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round. And despite the first round exit, Peter put up 8 points in the 7 games with 2 goals and 6 assists, along with a plus 5 rating. And very awesome to see here, guys. After 22 seasons, Peter Parker calls it quits in 2045, retiring with the New York Islanders at the age of 39 years old. And what a career he had. Played a total of 1,687 games and put up 1,790 points. So decent amount over point per game his whole career. Very, very nice there. We're going to go take a look through, the franchise records and things like that. See if he set any for the teams that he played for, especially Anaheim and New York, being with those teams for so long. And then we're going to do a nice career recap for Peter. So overall, a very, very successful and impressive career that he had. And yeah, we're going to go back through the teams, the records, and just do a complete career overview for Peter Parker here. All right, my friend. So after looking through the franchises that Peter played with, it turns out he didn't actually set any franchise records or anything, which was kind of bizarre given like what a great career he had. So we're just going to jump right into doing a general career overview for Peter here. So he had a pretty impressive career. As you can see, he was drafted second overall in 2023 by the Anaheim Ducks. He would go on to play for 6 teams: Anaheim for 11 seasons, New York Rangers for 7, the San Jose Sharks for 1, Buffalo Sabres for 1, Colorado Avalanche for 1, and the New York Islanders for 1 season, which is where he ended up retiring. So through that time, he played a total of 22 seasons in the NHL and amassed a total salary between all those teams of $241.7 million. So Peter absolutely got that bag while he was playing in the league, and he deserved it as well. He played a total of 1,687 games, scoring 714 goals, 1,076 assists, good for 1,790 points, so well over a point per game pace throughout his entire career. Definitely worth those contracts. Excuse me. And in the playoffs, he scored 83 goals, 145 assists for 228 points. So not only did he bring it in the regular season consistently, but he was a very good playoff performer as well. As for the awards, obviously he won the Stanley Cup twice, both times coming with the Anaheim Ducks. He won the Conn Smythe in one of those years. He won a Maurice Richard and an Art Ross trophy. So a decently decorated career for him, very impressive. And, gotta say it, much more impressive than Tony Stark's career. So, we absolutely love to see Peter Parker absolutely pop off in the league. He was definitely a force to be reckoned with. And, let me know in the comments, do you think that Peter Parker would be a Hall of Fame candidate? I am leaning yes. I think he was very excellent consistently and certainly has some hardware to prove it. So this one was a very fun one to do. I just really love seeing these guys pop off. And yeah, we're going to continue this series until NHL 24 comes out. And I'm hoping to do at least a couple more of them, but these are always a blast. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. The support helps me out a ton. I appreciate every single one of you for being here and tuning in. So until next time, have a good one, y'all.